In this video, you'll learn how to divide complex numbers. First thing we need to know to divide a complex number is about a conjugate. So what is a conjugate? A conjugate is where we change the sign in the middle of two terms. So if I give you 3x plus 1, the conjugate is 3x minus 1. So if we were going to find the conjugate of these binomials, the first one is x squared minus 3. Again, the only thing that would change is the sign in between the two terms, so it would be x squared plus 3. Pause the video and write down the next two conjugates. The second conjugate would be a minus b, and the third conjugate would be a plus b to the third. The conjugate is useful because it can help us write a quotient of complex numbers in standard form. If I is present in the denominator, a complex number is not considered in standard form. So here's our first example. If we want to write the quotient in standard form, we first want to multiply the numerator and denominator by the conjugate of the denominator. The conjugate of the denominator would be 1 minus 3i. I'm just going to rewrite everything in parentheses and make it into one fraction. Next, I would start to distribute. So distributing my numerator, I would get 2 minus 6i minus I plus 3i squared. In my denominator, I would get 1 minus 3i plus 3i minus 9i squared. If I'm following my steps, next I would simplify. So in the numerator, I could combine negative 6i minus I to get negative 7i. In my denominator, I could combine negative 3i plus 3i, which would cancel. Next, I would substitute in negative 1 for I squared. So in the numerator, I would now have 2 minus 7i plus 3 times negative 1. In the denominator, I would have 1 minus 9 times negative 1. If I continue simplifying, I have 2 minus 7i minus 3 and 1 plus 9. In the numerator, I can combine 2 minus 3 to be negative 1 minus 7i, and in the denominator, I can have 1 plus 9, which is 10. To rewrite in standard form, I just need to separate this into two separate fractions. So this is really negative 1/10 minus 7i over 10. So I just separated the two terms and wrote them both over the same denominator. Here's one more example for us to try. Again, I want to start by multiplying by the conjugate of the denominator on the numerator and denominator. Then I rewrite as one fraction, putting both binomials in parentheses. From here, I can begin to distribute. When I distribute in the numerator, I get 12 plus 3i plus 8i plus 2i squared. In the denominator, I get 16 plus 4i minus 4i minus I squared. I can simplify, so I have 12. 3i plus 8i is 11i plus 2, and I squared is really negative 1. In the denominator, I have 16. The 4 i's cancel out, and I have negative, and I squared is negative 1. If I continue simplifying, in the numerator I have 12 plus 11i minus 2. In the denominator, I have 16 minus negative 1, which is 17. In the numerator, my like terms are 12 minus 2, so I have 10 plus 11i over 17. And finally, we just want to separate this to be into two fractions, both over the same denominator. So 10 over 17 plus 11i over 17.